once a week.
And for the purpose of the public, the subcommittee is,
Myself and Kathleen and Linda.
okay.
So, do you guys want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, we're not gonna get into discussion about details at this point, right, as far as.
Right.
We're just, that's what we've
Okay.
accomplished.
Okay.
Are you looking for, did you want us to get into some details?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily, but I was looking for something else from you on that Pearson.
Yeah, I've had so far, just an informal request that's come to me. And I think this has come before the board a couple of other times for the possibility of an extension off of Pearson Drive, which is a non-through road. It's a P-shaped road over in Byfield. And the owner of a very large lot, I think it's David, 16 acres?
Yeah.
Jeff Smith, is interested in the possibility of subdividing that lot and putting a cul-de-sac in off of the non-through road. So it's kind of, at this point, an abstract question of how the board would feel about putting, adding on to something which is effectively not a through road now.
I was on the board previously, and I think David Powell was also, when this was brought up at least once, and for some reason, I think it was brought up twice. Would it be possible, is it filed through your records by lot or by parcel, where you'd be able to get the previous decisions to see what was decided at that time?
It's by street and,
Oh,
you know.
so you'd
street
be able to
number.
locate those, do you
I
think?
could. Were there actual decisions made, or was it just discussion that would be in the minutes?
We did have a couple meetings on this, because I remember they wanted to put a road through Pearson Drive, and I thought originally it was coming right down Orchard Street, and the problem was wetlands, and there was a bunch of issues, and it'd be interesting to call back the meeting minutes to see what was actually discussed and what reasons came up. It's not necessary, it'd just be helpful to figure out what we've decided in the past, just see if we can be somewhat consistent with the decisions.
I concur. I must admit, I know exactly where is this Pearson Drive that you're talking about.
It's
Is
off
that right?
Orchard
It's
Street.
right off of
Orchard
Orchard
Street.
Street.
Right, it's actually very close to.
Oh, I know where it is.
Right.
It's right near where you are.
It's
Right.
Right at the top of the hill.
Essentially, two-
Yeah.
Yep, got it.
two lots from the-
Is there any way that could tie into Fruit Street? No? Not in the cards.
I don't think so. I mean, there's some serious wetlands in there.
Yeah.
It's abutted by Fish and Wildlife
Yeah.
on
And then there
two
are a bunch
sides.
of very strange lots which come out of the top of Pearson Drive, which have very long, they were pork chop days when we were doing pork chop lots, and they're sort of extraordinary pork chop lots. They're several hundred feet of driveway into fairly big lots.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I was on the board when that was first built, and we didn't have pork chops then. That was pre-pork chop. Maybe they may have redone some of the lots.
No, these were, I think, a group of 3 lots which were done out of the top of the.
Of the P?
Being like this, they come out of the top of the
Do they?
P.
Yeah.
And they had frontage, but they didn't have acreage.
I'll see.
And they're all sort of rural lots. It's a bit odd.
I think the direct question would be, though, since this is not going to be a through road, it's an extension off a non-through road, whether the board would permit it. Correct, Martha? That's really what it comes down to?
Right.
And as of now, we don't have anything in our bylaw prohibiting that, do we?
Well.
I don't,
Cul-de-sac
I'm not
like.
prohibiting that, but it depends how you interpret the length of a cul-de-sac. Is that length to be measured off a through road, or is it to be measured off,
Exactly.
right? And since we do have a precedent in that when we looked at the Downfall Road extension,
Right.
which we rejected, in part because it was, 700-800 feet, I think, of cul-de-sac being added onto Downfall Road.
Onto a dead end.
Widening issues and a whole bunch of things. So.
I was under the, go ahead.
So the other issue here that I didn't realize, Martha, until such time as I reviewed your request to me. And that is actually, this would trigger OSRD,
Yes,
because what would happen is he would have to break out the old lot to be a lot again in order to get in to put the road in. So it would now be 5 lots
right, right.
opposed to 4. And I don't know whether the applicant or potential applicant
Right.
realizes that.
I mentioned that to him when he
Yeah,
made his
okay.
inquiry.
And so is the inquiry really only to increase the number of lots by 1?
No, I mean, the plan that he showed me actually had 4 additional lots.
4
but he was
additional.
actually thinking about creating a larger number of units that would be over 55. So it's
Age-wise.
age-wise.
Oh,
Yeah, not, sorry.
Right, yeah.
so I mean, is
Age
it,
restricted.
so is an idea, these are not condominiums? These are
Didn't,
single-family,
presumably, didn't
Detached?
get that far.
she was age restricted? Yeah, so it'd be similar to that project.
Well, it could be.
Could be, but we don't know.
We don't know.
Okay.
But it all comes back to whether or not a cul-de-sac can come off a non-through road.
Right.
Right.
I don't think, yeah.
And under the impression I have, that I needs to be confirmed with the board is I was under the impression that that the intent was no.
Right. That's my memory.
Particularly in view of the fact that I think it's, what did we determine, about 4,000 feet from Orchard Street to the end of the P?
It's over 3,000,
Yeah.
and I think it's over 1,000 from Orchard Street to the bottom of the P. So, that already
There was
exceeds.
a little sort of dual carriageway kind of thing
Right,
at the beginning,
right,
which
right,
is
right.
probably 600-700 feet, maybe, to the old farmhouse.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's a long way in.
It's a long
I
way.
mean, yeah. It's probably over half a mile.
So, Martha, what is he expecting from you?
Well, he's not really expecting, I've answered him. We had a back and forth, and he said he might come back to the board, but he's not expecting anything further right now. But I wanted to kind of ask the question to, going forward.
Okay,
I'd want to see what he has in mind before I have an opinion myself,
sure.
So is that,
Just a sketch plan, nothing formal, but
so does that mean the board is considering that he might be allowed to do this?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because if he's
know.
trying to get a gut feeling from the board whether it's allowed or not before he spends money, we haven't responded to that question.
Well, also, I don't think we've gotten the correct question
Yeah,
from
I'd-
him.
Right, you're right.
To me, I don't know what's being requested exactly. I mean, we've had a nice discussion about this, but I'd like to see something a little further developed on his part that says, well, this is really what I want to do, and these are the details of it, and this is the exact length of the road, and these are the kind of units I want to put there, and that's what you have to have a discussion
if he
about.
came in with one sheet of an assessor's map marked up, that would give me some idea of where he's coming from, what he's up to,
I
and
mean, do
where
you have
he's
a better
going.
sense? I just don't have a good sense for it.
I don't think it's a terribly expensive operation to produce what I would like to see.
Well, the
An hour's work.
the problem that I see right now is if we're saying that you cannot create a cul-de-sac off a non-through road, well then why are we moving forward with discussion?
'Cause
I don't mind having
Yeah, I
discussion.
understand.
I'm just
I-
saying that, are we misleading him, saying that, you know what, we're considering it? And if we are, that's fine, but I myself am a little confused right now whether, I'm under the impression that's not allowed, but we're willing to have him come in and explore the idea. Is that what I'm getting from the board?
No, not from me. I think that I would agree with both Johns that we need a much clearer idea of what's being proposed than we currently have to have any opinion, knowing that the issue that you raise is a key issue, and that is anything that's done there is going to be a cul-de-sac at the end of an existing non-through road.
Maybe it's a loop. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know.
There may be other
Camping?
options that we
No,
could
but,
kick
okay,
around,
the
perhaps.
options are severely limited in terms of access. Okay, to the acreage. The acreage is only accessible through an existing lot.
I mean, Kathleen, I'm just reluctant to just say no on something I know so little about.
Yeah, same here,
Okay.
that's my position as well.
So
You
that's
don't
what I'd
say
like
no
to
if
do.
you don't understand.
I'm
the
not saying that I don't want to come in, I just didn't want to mislead him, that's all.
That's
So
fine.
that was my
fine.
point.
That's fine. It's a little past 7:15, and I think we're at the time certain for the public hearing. So if the Board of Selectmen want to take their due places up here.
John,
John, do you want to move down?
want to
and
go
let-
down to the selectmen or that way?
Or no, because then, no, it's not that way. Let Joe should sit here.
Oh, okay, in the center?
Yeah, no, stay that, John's.
Sit.
Unless you want to have it, maybe you sit on, down there, and then David, want to do that logistically?
Well, we can turn that chair around, and
Go and sit over there.
Mike can sit there, David can sit here.
No, John's gonna sit
Oh,
here.
Jeff is now here, okay.
No, David, John's coming to sit there. We have selectmen down there. Yeah.
Right.
Right,
Oh, we wanna-
absolutely.
yeah. Want to do segregation?
Absolutely.
Oh. What is it they have that we don't?
We're trying not to do that.
You rehearsing?
Yeah, I'm rehearsing.
It's your moment in the sun.
Yeah, he'll open it and he'll tell you to
Because I
do it.
can't remember my passwords on websites. I never make it.
What? John,
Sit here.
No, you stay right there, Dave. They're all opened
All
up,
set.
7:15.
Doesn't make any
Motion to open the board,
How you
the
doing?
selectmen,
Motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're open.
Planning Board to open the public hearing regarding 6769 Newburyport Turnpike. So we're open.
Okay. Are they in order what we're gonna cover here?
Yeah, the issues here are, that we have written down, are that
We need to open the public hearing formally with a reading of the
The notice. that's-
notice.
with the reading of the notice,
Yes.
and Linda McCamick is going to read that for us.
Town of Newbury Board of Selectmen and Planning Board Public Hearing Notice. Residents of the town of Newbury, please note that on Wednesday, September 18th, 2013, at 7:15 PM, the Newbury Board of Selectmen and the Newbury Planning Board will hold a joint public hearing for a water supply protection overlay district special permit, Board of Selectmen, and for site plan review, Planning Board, for redevelopment of the property at 6769 Newburyport Turnpike, map R47, parcel 11, is shown on the plan entitled 67-69 Newburyport Turnpike, Newbury, Mass, dated August 16, 2013. In supporting documents, applicant, Playmakers, Inc., 14 Forest Ridge Drive, Rowley, Mass. 01969, owner of record, Doug and Jean Palumbo, 89 Hanover Street, Newbury, Mass. The hearing will take place at the Newbury Town Hall, 25 High Road, Newbury, Mass. 01951. The applications and plans prepared by Thomas Manetta, Inc. and Cummings Architects are on file for review with the town clerk, the Selectman's Office, and the Planning Office, 25 High Road, Newbury, Mass. For more information, contact the Selectman's Office at 978-465-0862, extension 302, or the Planning Office at 978-465-0862, extension 312. Joe Story, second, Chair of the Newbury Board of Selectmen, John Weiss, Chair, Newbury Planning Board.
I think we're covered in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the next step probably would be have the applicants give an overview of what you're proposing there.
Hi. My name is Chrissy Rupp. I'm the owner of Playmakers, yes.
Yeah,
As
the-
close as you can to the mic.
I know that some of you are familiar with this project and some of you don't know anything about it, so I'm going to start at the beginning.
You should,
Give
because
you
it's a public hearing and
some information
You should
about our
do that.
business and also where we're at in terms of the project right now. Playmakers is located on Route 1 in Rowley in the Forest Ridge Plaza. We've been open for 3.5 years. We were a startup business, so we're still sort of in the process of starting our business up. We do a variety of infant, toddler classes, cooking, art, and music programs for children. We are not a daycare. We are exempt from state licensing for childcare. The majority of our programs, parents come to the program with their child for an hour and leave, and they come maybe once a week. I did bring some pictures of the center. For those of you who can't really conceptualize what this is, it's a very unique business model, so I didn't know if that would help, just to kind of get a visual of what we're doing. The goal of our center is really to help parents navigate a culture right now that is bent on faster is better and more is better, and it's very antithetical to childhood. So we really have an underlaying of parent education and helping parents understand that less toys, less schedule, less pressure academically is really what children need in order to learn. There is not a business model that is a combination of our type of services nationally. So we're really kind of in uncharted water and making our way through the business startup process. In 3.5 years, I have not drawn a salary, and on my husband's little meager salary, we are continuing to fund the business. And unfortunately, it became clear shortly into our stint at Forest Ridge that that retail location is just not the right fit for us. It's not sustainable, and we need to relocate. And the property at 69 Newburyport Turnpike stands to improve our location significantly. The majority of our demographic travel from Newburyport right now. And we also don't have an outdoor space at the retail location, and this property would allow us to have an outdoor space to be with the children, which would improve our seasonality, which we face a lot right now. Unfortunately, in terms of where we're at in this project, my husband and I have never developed commercial property before, so this has been a humongous learning curve for us, and we are not sure that we can bring this project to fruition. So we are trying desperately to hold this together in a viable plan. If we can't bring 69 Newburyport Turnpike to fruition, we have incurred such an enormous professional fee expense and filing expense to this point to get us here. We will not be able to do this at another location, and we know we're not sustainable at Forest Ridge. We will have to close the center. So we have everything personally and professionally riding on this, and I really appreciate your time tonight, and please let me know if you have more questions about the business.
Who's moderating this site?
we both are.
I just like to make a little disclosure before we go forward.
Okay.
And that is that I'm a member of the Board of Directors for the Clean Water Association, which is one of the tenants. And so in terms of potential conflict of interest, I've been communicating with Town Council. And based on my understanding of the situation where the PRCWA or tenants at will, that you've been trying to be pretty accommodating in terms of your interactions with them, I feel as though there's no significant detrimental financial interest on the part of the PRCWA, so I'm going to continue to participate in the hearing, since it looks as though, based on my information that's been provided, partly through Martha with conversations, I guess, with you, that there seems that I don't have a financial conflict of interest, so I feel comfortable.
Sounds good.
But I just
Thank
wanted
you.
people to know, that there is this relationship that I
Well, I think what we would like to do is maybe see if collective board members have questions of Christine, and then following that, we would have a presentation by Tom about the site plan and the issues that have been raised by others over the time. So any board members have any questions on the business plan?
Not the business plan. The question I'll have that is sort of related, and I think we can probably ask it better after we see the layout and stuff like that, is the traffic. And, like you said, they were going to stay for an hour and then leave and that type of thing. So like what cars, but I think we can probably get a better answer on that after we see
Yeah,
that.
maybe we can come back to it if you
Yeah,
have
okay.
questions after that part of the presentation.
Any
Anything
other
else?
questions?
You know, I think I have a pretty good understanding of the basic ideas, at least behind them. I'm
John?
also aware that you've got some issues with essentially state wetlands regs and stuff that is not part of our purview, but is.
Any planning board members have questions on the business plan or Christine?
No.
All right, with that, then we'll ask you, you can sit for a second, and Tom, introduce yourself and then go over the plan. And talk into that mic.
Into the mic, okay. For the record, I'm Tom Mineta from Thomas Mineta Incorporated. You know, we have the overview of the site, but what I want to do is I'll just go through the you know, the facts of the site, and then I'll go through the site plan, I guess, which is kind of behind me right now. But so the site is 67 and 69 Newburyport Turnpike. The zoning district is business light industrial. As we know, we're also in the water protection district, water supply protection district. Currently, the site is a mixed-use site. There's residential and commercial. You know, this building here will have the commercial aspect and has an accessory apartment above it. And this building, number 69, is actually the residential use on the property. So each one of those uses has a proposed addition, which is in yellow, I'm sorry, which is in blue. The lighter color is the existing footprint of the building, and the blue is the proposed footprint. We have, let me just pull this sheet. On the first sheet of the application, we went through it and laid everything out as far as parking requirements, maximum lot coverage, and required impervious area calculations for the water protection district. So under your zoning, 10 spaces are required in total. We're proposing 13 spaces. What we've done is we've provided some additional residential parking spaces in the rear of the property, and in the front of the property would be any of the spaces for the commercial application, which are these spaces here and the spaces up here in the paved area. We've also provided one handicap van accessible spot right there in front of the property. So the basic layout of the site is that there's two existing curb cuts out at this property. There's one here and one here. So this will be one-way traffic. So they'll enter onto the site here, come into here, park, and then once they're done, they will leave the site. The tan area is an access drive for the residential use only. Okay, this actual driveway actually feeds what will be a garage under this building, which would be for Chrissy and her family. It has no commercial aspect at all. And we have 3 spaces right here which meet the requirement for parking for residential use. Out at the site now, and will remain that way, is this dark area is a paved area. This lighter gray area is a gravel area. And then we have our spaces, which are going to be a gravel area. Initially, we had this as paved, based on the comments from the review agent, as well as, you know, we met with conservation last night and talked about making this gravel as well, like a pea stone base driveway. So we're pulling impervious area out of the calculations where we're in the water protection district. So that'll help us meet the total suspended solids and some of the volume issues.
Just a quick question, where does that leave you in terms of percent impervious surface with?
You know, it actually, it'll pull out 3,800 square feet of impervious area. So it'll actually drop the number that's on the plan now, the overall impervious, that's all the existing pavement, obviously the houses, the walkways and everything. We're at 27.6% after construction. It'll bring it down to 18.2%, pulling that driveway out. So I guess, you know, that's the quick layout of the site. I guess I would actually open it up for specific questions of the site.
Well, I'd also like you to go over
The landscaping?
the landscaping,
Okay.
do it all, and then any treatment you're gonna do to the structure itself, and what might be the phasing of that.
Okay, well, I'll have Matt come up and discuss the structure itself, but this is a landscape plan that is proposed for the site, and actually, this is, this is a street view that, on one of the preliminary hearings we had with the planning board, they asked, what it's gonna look like from the street. A lot of this area out here, we can't,
Thank you.
a lot of this area out here we can't touch, where there's some of the trees, because it's actually in the state, it's in the state layout. But we do have proposed plantings along the front of the building, which show up here. We'll have window boxes, we'll have some planted boxes out front, because it's all paved now. And we have, there's this thin strip right here that has proposed plantings as well, which is this white area right here on this plan. That area will all be planted, which will help screen this parking from the street. We have, also on this plan is a lighting plan, a lighting layout. So we have some post lights and lighting here, here, and here on the site. So it'll cover the commercial parking area as well as this walkway that goes between the two buildings and down to this driveway. All the plants are actually spec'd out, and there's a planting schedule at the bottom of the plan.
So in this plan that you have right in front of you,
Yep.
what is existing on this and what's new? Is
The-
anything green new?
Yeah, this darker greens, it's they kind of blend a little bit, but this is all new here. These trees that are in the right of way in the state layout will remain. So we have two new plantings on either side of the driveway here. We have a row of plantings here. These, the lighter green, is existing. So they go out there, they'll kind of clean up what's out there.
And one of the other questions that came up from previous meetings was an idea of where you'd place the sign. I don't know if that was discussed or not.
The sign is actually this, you have an existing post out there now, so there'll be a sign there, and there'll also be a sign on the building. So it shows up on mats as well, so.
Oh, it's like a hanging sign, is that what it is?
see the poster
Okay,
across
yeah,
Yeah, sign here, there's
Alright.
actually an existing post out there.
thank you.
Yep. So we can, do you want to hold all the questions and Matt do his presentation, or?
What's the?
That's straightforward to me.
Was the 27.5% impervious surface reduced for the reason that there was too much impervious surface for the actual site, or just to reduce stormwater calculations?
To meet some of the requirements by your review engineer, for the stormwater, yes.
Which happen to be the requirements the DEP lays on us.
Right.
There's nothing that Joe made up.
It's
in a
nothing you made
drain.
up, it's, we talked about it last night,
Yeah.
everybody has their own view and interpretation.
Different opinions of so forth,
regulations.
but it's legitimate in my
Right.
opinion.
And there's criteria on redevelopment and new development, there's a gray area there, and so the stricter of the interpretations is something that I believe we can comply with. So, and one of the ways to do that is to remove the pavement out back.
John, with your work on stormwater, are you happy with this?
No,
You're not?
no, not at this point.
Okay,
Okay, but Tom hasn't had a chance to rework it.
okay,
And obviously, everybody's got to be happy
yeah, okay.
when
But-
we're done.
But you're
right
working.
now, no, I pretty much agree with everything that Joe, our reviewing engineer, said.
Yep.
And, well, like Tom says, some of them are subject to interpretation. I tend to go with Joe.
Okay.
And, but it's a very challenging site.
Yep.
Tom's got his work cut out for him to turn this into lemonade, really.
Could you clarify, so with the proposed design, you have issues right now with it?
Oh, yeah, the existing design, I have issues with. Now, if, I'm putting words in your mouth,
Right.
Tom, stop me. But
Okay.
I think what I'm hearing from Tom is, he is not presenting, other than anecdotally, what he's going to end up with.
Right.
Because he hasn't done the engineering and the drafting to turn it into the new plan.
So perhaps one way we can do it without, and let's hold off on what you're gonna do to the structure for a while, since many of these questions seem to be talking about about stormwater and parking, et cetera. So let's focus on that for a second.
Okay.
So you've received, we sent a letter from Joe, who is our engineer, and he's reviewed the plans, and he sent a letter to the applicant, and they've had a discussion. So maybe you could then
Okay.
just inform
Sure.
us now.
Where we're at
You've
is-
read you've read his notes, and how do you respond to them?
Well, I'll respond the same way I responded to conservation last night. My goal is to meet his requirements. We're trying to get through this first round of meetings to see what all the comments are before, we got the comments, I think, on Thursday. So I haven't made any plan changes at all. I haven't changed any of the parking. I haven't done anything with stormwater, other than conceptually thinking, okay, one thing we can do, which is a big thing, is pull some impervious area.
He's certainly on the right track with that.
Right, and then we're gonna have to do some more pre-treatment, we're gonna have to make the forebay bigger.
Down Joe's list, and if we go down, he kind of rebuts it. That's what we've done in the past.
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. So in the past, when we've had these public hearings, and
Yep.
we've had the consultant review your work, he's come back with a list of issues, and at the public hearing, we've gone down issue by issue, and since we know that you haven't had time to revise the
Right.
plan, you can verbally tell us whether or not you agree or disagree with what you're doing, and that helps us
So-
in this.
Okay.
So if that's okay with you and other
Can I
board
use your
members,
copy? Thanks.
and you have his letter in front of you?
I do now, yes.
Okay. So, under A, stormwater analysis, it says, number one, the report should be stamped, signed, and dated by a registered.
Yeah, I think he wants a cover letter stamped. The
Okay.
internals were stamped, but I guess he wants a cover, which is not, obviously not a problem.
Number two, one drainage area map was included that appears to depict post-development drainage areas only. A pre-development drainage area map should be submitted to address existing conditions.
Again, no problem at all.
Okay. There appears to be an error in the report summary where the statement, "This area is not considered a critical area," appears. The site appears to be bounded by two interim wellhead protection areas, as depicted by Massachusetts GIS. The IWPAs are considered critical areas by the policy, meaning that additional stormwater treatment is required. The engineer should revise the design accordingly.
Yep, and that's, actually, those forms have already been changed and submitted to DEP.
Okay. In the pre- and post-development analyses, the engineer has chosen to use direct entry of 6.0 minutes for the times of concentration. Typically, this would be appropriate for highly impervious, that is paved surfaces, but it is not typically appropriate for areas where a majority of the ground cover is pervious. I would recommend that the engineer show the time of concentration calculations for each subcatchment as is typical.
Yeah, this is a minor issue. This is one of those areas where two engineers disagree, but as far as changing the time of concentration, that's not a problem at all.
John, you're okay with that?
Oh, yeah. No, it can be calculated easy enough.
Number five, relative to subcatchment 9S, the area of the forebay and detention basin should be separated out to be included in the flow of the basin.
Yeah, that's just a matter of, you have subcatchments on the plan, it's really just breaking that up. That's not a problem.
And the engineer has determined in the stormwater checklist that the project qualifies as redevelopment and is subject to the standards of the policy only to the maximum extent practicable. This is not correct in my opinion. From reading the redevelopment requirements due to an increase in impervious area, I would recommend that the engineer review this section of the policy and address the issue accordingly.
We'll comply with it.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. The abutting IWPAs will subject the site to more stringent treatment requirements for stormwater and infiltration. In particular, 44% TSS removal as a non-engineer, what is TSS?
Total suspended solids.
44% TSS removal pre-treatment is required, along with 1 inch of water quality volume treatment. Further, 80% TSS removal will be required. The engineer should address this issue.
Yeah, these are kind of all interlinked, so yes, we'll address that.
And so, and then the final issue under groundwater is soils and groundwater information is required to be provided at the treatment area locations to demonstrate adequate setbacks. The engineer should provide this information on a revised plan.
Yes, we'll do that. We've agreed to go out there because conservation asked for the same thing.
So, I've completed the items that the engineer has had, 1 through 8. Does either board member have any comments they'd like to make about anything that just transpired?
Just very quickly, I think it would be a nice fit for the area, and I am pro-business, but aren't we kind of here, I mean, there's a lot more to be done before we can chime in on anything.
It certainly couldn't be voted on tonight, in my opinion,
Right, yeah.
because it hasn't been sorted out.
Because they've got to go
Way-
back and
way
make
early.
these changes.
Right, for us, that's early.
Yeah.
Yep.
We,
And I don't want you to take that as the fact that we're not, you know, in favor.
yeah. What the Concom voted to do last night was to continue last night's public hearing to the site visit, which is next Wednesday, I think, on the site, so that with any luck, we'll be able to, you'll have something together, we'll be able to look at it, we'll be able to vote on the site, and that'll clean up the Concom, and he will not have to wait until our next meeting, which will be towards the end of October. So that, and we've got a meeting on the 1st of October, I believe. So that's the schedule as I see it.
John, on the Concom side, I believe that much of that site drains into the ACEC, and perhaps a part of the property is actually in the ACEC. Does that add any extra burden above what we've already got because of the water protection?
I would say so. I think it's the site from hell myself. It's a very, Tom has his work cut out for him. It's a very challenging site to pull together. I'm not saying he can't, but it's going to be a lot of work.
I think I just,
Sure.
I spoke with Doug about that very briefly, and I think my understanding of what he said was that it doesn't put any additional burden over and above the Zone 2, the wellhead protection, which is what the special permit is for anyway. So he seemed to feel that the requirements were covered.
So, I mean, John,
Right.
what is burdening the site more than what is already there? Added pavement and roof area?
Adding impervious surface,
Meaning
which is.
the parking lots?
Right, that is what triggers it, the decision that it is not redevelopment, which means that the do the best you can doesn't really kick in. It's more like if it's new development, which it is because of in my opinion, because of the increased impervious surface, then it is, you obey all 10 rules, okay? And those are, it's challenging to do.
So at least that, for the applicant, that kind of really, exactly what is triggering it. It's the impervious pavement surface.
It's
Not
any
building.
any improvement.
That's we've got roofs that he can't do much about. The roads he can turn from impervious to pervious, but a pervious roof is probably not in the cards.
I guess what I'm after in some respects, if with certain changes, John,
Yeah.
because there's building and structure and some roofs there and everything else, do you think there's a chance that there can be a positive net flow to the ACEC if they do some constructive?
Well, I don't think he's allowed to have a net increase. That's why we have detention basins. So, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm expecting we're gonna end up even Steven.
Oh, there's
To
really
the
no
ACEC,
issue
yeah.
with volume
Yeah.
right now. It's really treatment,
Okay.
and then treating it, and you have a 4-bay, and it depends, whether it's a half inch or an inch. And when we're under development, you have to contain an inch of the first runoff, things like that. So, it's any impervious area. And to answer the question about the ACEC, we're out of the ACEC. We're close, but our site is out of it.
I think-
But again, it wouldn't make, I'm sorry.
I think I misunderstood your question. The ACEC is making his job harder, but he still has to respect it, and he can't pollute it, and he can't flood it, okay?
You've
And
already
that's what
got
his,
these other stormwater constraints that.
Correct.
yeah,
kind
he's
of
gotta
all fold
provide
together.
best management practices that makes the ACEC not even notice that the site has changed.
Are there any, do you
Yeah.
want to make a point?
I don't know whether I want to make a point, but I'm getting a little confused here as to whether some of this discussion is about the original plan, which consisted of a impervious surface driveway of a considerable amount of square feet, which now in conversation in your presentation has been withdrawn. Does that make a difference to where you are coming from?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So-
What he initially submitted, I
Yes.
think, several of us agree, maybe not Tom, but several of us agree that that is not satisfactory, okay? But he has not had the opportunity
know.
to clean up the act, so I can't say that what he's gonna come up with is gonna be fine, I don't know. You know, I'm
Right,
hopeful
right.
that it is for everybody's
So-
sake.
Right, I think practically saying just obviously pulling pavement out, impervious area out.
It's gonna
Right.
It's
help.
it's gonna help the overall
I think so.
site. But we still have increased impervious from the roofs that we
You
have to
do,
deal.
and what is that in terms of, what sort of numbers are you dealing with there? I don't mean the actual, but percentages.
Well,
but
we have a
do-
couple thousand square feet of roof area that we're dealing with.
That's new.
Bigger
That's
than a
true.
bread box.
Martha,
Okay. That's new, and how are you dealing with runoff from roofs on the site?
Runoff from roofs can go directly into a detention basin. So that's how we have it. There'll be a gutter system around the building.
Right,
and,
right.
You know, there'll be an infrastructure of piping that then goes into a detention basin.
You don't have to treat it, it's clean water.
Okay.
You have to treat what runs off the ground, and that's why he's got a four-bay. But he can pipe his
Right.
roof water straight in. It still
Let me-
has to be
let me see
detained.
if I
Yeah.
can. He's working on a number of things that were in the letter from Joe. He's
Right.
working on a number of things that came from the Concom. They're gonna have a site visit that perhaps will generate some more. He's gonna redo the plans, resubmit them, and we'll probably continue the public hearing and hopefully approve things at the next meeting.
That's
That
the
would
goal,
be, that
right.
would be the goal, okay?
Correct.
All right. Do you wanna move on to the other part of the Joe's letter? And
Sure,
that's on-
absolutely, yep.
and so let me read these. These have to do almost, well, with the site plan itself and not so much with stormwater, and mostly with driving and access in. Number one, I would recommend that the engineer provide vehicle turning movements on the plan to verify that vehicles can adequately access the proposed parking spaces. Typically, a 20 to 24-foot maneuvering aisle is needed to access 90-degree parking spaces as depicted on the plan. The 3 parking spaces near the Family Enrichment Center have about 25 feet from the parking space to the face of the building. The board may want to consider a sidewalk, curbing, or bollards along the front of the building to separate the vehicles from the patrons and the building. I think I get that. The 7 parking spaces adjacent to the septic area have 15 to 25 feet of maneuvering space. That's just a statement of fact. And finally, the 3 proposed residences spaces along the rear driveway, that area going down in the back, have only 12-foot driveway in which to access the parking spaces. This is likely not enough in which to enter back out of the parking space. I'd recommend that the engineer address these issues.
Okay,
Let me add the
Oh.
next one first, because it's related to it.
sure.
Number 2, the 12-foot driveway along the rear of the site could be problematic in that it does not allow for two-way traffic. The driveway provides access to 3 residential parking spaces, but also to 2 garage doors at the rear for the Family Enrichment Center. So maybe you could address that.
Okay, I guess I'll go up. As far as he's talking about the garage area here, that is not for any of the commercial applications. It's purely for the residential use, as well as this driveway is. I mean, it's a standard 12-foot wide driveway, and it's for the residential use.
but there's 2 residential uses, aren't there?
There's an accessory apartment above the building and
then there's a-
and then, of course, for the
So it's
the
2
trucks themselves.
2 units, yeah.
Yeah.
2 residential units,
2 residential units.
one of which is lived by
Correct.
Christine.
Yep, correct. So, I don't agree that that needs to be two-way traffic. You know, if you think about it, you know, a normal family, you know, of 4 or 5 has a driveway and it's 12 feet wide. Basically, that's what we're talking about here.
But this is a common drive now.
No,
It
not
doesn't
by
meet
our
the common drive.
definition.
No, but you're using,
It's on
you
one
have
property.
you have 2 units there. It's like a common driveway.
No,
Unless you look at it as like an accessory apartment in a house.
Right, yeah.
But it's a separate structure.
No, I don't think so.
I think that needs some thought. I agree with Kathleen that that's.
I'm not saying
Wanna
that
think
I'm in
about it
favor, I'm
anyways.
just saying you're
Well-
gonna have two families there.
You know, one thing we can look at is, and again, this is just conceptual, is, you know, I can, you know, pull these spaces this way and actually widen this out right here so that there's additional, which is one of the comments, additional.
Yeah, maybe.
Turning area.
Maybe you're not gonna get 12 throughout, but you get,
Well, I could definitely
Get
get, I could
space.
definitely get 20 feet, you know, I think he says, you know, his comment was 20 to 24 feet. That's pretty conservative, you know, to think that, you know, you have an 18-foot deep parking spot, and then you're saying you need another 24 feet behind that to pull out? I would say that most of you.
That is a normal parking lot though, typically.
It's a normal parking lot with
parking lot,
heavy
yeah.
traffic going
Yeah.
2 lanes.
Yeah, but I think if you just widen a portion of that, so if you got this
Right, what I can do
happening,
is-
somebody can pull out, that
Right,
should
I
make
can
the
widen
problem
this
go
area
away.
out here
yeah.
and push these spaces this way,
You need-
so there's a wider area if
Places
somebody
where people
does, somebody can
where
pull
people
over.
can edge to the side.
Correct, so somebody will have that
So
opportunity to
if you
pull
can work
over,
on that.
as
Big
well
old-
as an additional area for people to back out.
A big old mirror might help too. I
Okay.
don't know.
The board may, number 3, the board may want to consider a guardrail along the driveway leading to the rear of the site. The driveway has the 10% slope with adjacent 10-foot slopes in some areas.
Right, I think he's talking in this area right
I
here.
think that's what he means too.
And it's 10% for about 50, 60 feet. I mean, we're not, the whole driveway isn't 10%.
Yeah, one of the difficulties I've had is you try to walk back there and get that, and you don't know what your engineering is gonna do to that,
Right,
really.
right.
So if you can flatten that out a bit, that maybe is not as severe as he's saying.
Yeah, it's 10, like I say, it's 10% for a short distance, and then it's actually 1%. So,
Right.
and this is the area that he's talking about, you know, a guardrail, and, you know, we could definitely look into that. I mean, it's not, that isn't really, a huge issue.
What is the width of the driveway right now?
This driveway is shown right now as 12 feet.
12 feet, okay.
And then finally, the forebay and detention basin grading depicted on sheets 3 and 4 do not match what is analyzed in the drainage calculations engineer should address.
Right, this gets drainage calculation shows, is based on 1-foot stage storage, and I'm showing a 2-foot contour here. I can, that's easily enough to address.
Board members want to comment on any of these issues?
Can I, the first comment, we talked about this parking here and actually this parking here. Again, I can conceptually. So one of his comments was that you need 20 to 24 feet, yet we have, you know, and then he said that we have 25 feet. So we do have enough to pull in and out of those spaces between the building. And I think you can see on the building as well, we do have some planters in front of the building, so there will be a break, a separation between the two. And what we can do in this area is it does vary between 15 and 25 feet. So the beginning spaces have 25 feet to back out, and again, the consultant said anywhere between 20 and 24. So it's these spaces where it breaks down to 15 feet, and we're putting plantings here, so we don't want to obviously widen that area out there. So again, what I can do is take these spaces and slide them down the slope a little bit more, so that there's more space between the back of the space and the edge of the gravel drive. So I think the parking issues we can definitely address.
Any comments from board members?
I would just, urge conversation before stuff gets engraved in stone.
Yeah.
But you and Joe are talking to each other,
We've
I
talked
understand,
once,
yeah.
and obviously, just kind of waiting to get everybody's input and get going before we can sit down and go over the changes.
Yeah, I would suggest you get
Yep.
some sort of an agreement in principle before you put a lot of time
Yeah, absolutely.
into
Yep.
redoing stuff too.
Right, and again, everything I'm saying right now is just conceptually from
Sure.
talking and seeing it at the meetings.
And would you just show me where exactly these 3 spaces where he's recommending that we either put bollards or a sidewalk? Where
He's
exactly
talking
is
about these spaces that are right here. We have a handicap space and 2 other spaces. So he's saying that, you need 20 to 24 feet, and that the building itself is only 25 feet. So he's asking for, something in this area right
that?
here.
So something in front of the building
Yeah, just to
would be a
protect the
little
building,
sidewalk.
and actually, we're actually doing that with plantings
Yeah,
and
that
stuff, so we have
might
planting
make
boxes
sense.
out
I mean,
there.
something to obviously buffer, you don't want people, banging into the
Right,
side
plus
of the building.
we're trying to get some plantings in front of the building
Yeah,
as
okay.
well, so.
John,
Yes.
if they can meet, you know, the Conservation Commission's thinking and DEP requirements.
Yeah.
If they can meet those, your board isn't gonna probably ask for anything over and above that, are
When
they?
you say my board, Concom? Oh, this
meaning your
board
board.
here, actually it's John's board, not my board.
Well, that's all right.
But I can't speak for the board. I would not be pushing for anything other than what the DEP Stormwater Handbook says, and that's the rules. I mean, I don't think we're in a position to say, no, he doesn't have to do it.
Yep.
You know, there's some judgment, obviously, it could be applied, but basically, that's state law. You don't have a lot of option.
Right.
And if we do take liberties with it, then when DEP sees what the final product is, they'll appeal it, you know.
Well, I mean-
So we've got,
For us, it seems that if those requirements are met, then it's kind of an easy thing for us, meaning
Right.
us.
yeah, I would say,
Selectmen.
Right.
I would say so, yeah. From my perspective, if we can handle the stuff that's in this letter, I'm happy.
Okay.
Now, I'm only speaking for John, not for everybody else.
Right.
One question I have, and it's gonna sound like a stupid question, but when we ran into this same question on a previous project over there, one of the concerns was storage of hazardous materials, and any that are gonna be on site. Do you plan, I'd rather ask the question now than, Okay, no, good. That's good to know.
That's quite happy. Before, we do want to open this, sorry. We do want to open it up for the public, but I would like to have the architect just go through the plan for what work might be planned for the structure itself and what the timing might be.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question? I apologize.
What work might be planned for the structure itself,
Uh-huh.
and what's the timing of that work?
We need phasing.
Yeah, phasing.
What do you mean, Matthew Cummings Architects? You mean future work other than what we're planning on today? Or,
Previously, we talked about phasing and different
Yeah, when
components
you
of
were
the
here
project.
I
first,
understand. I
You talked
understand.
about that you were gonna do work immediately, and then you hope to be able to do work in the future, and we'd just like to hear all of that.
No, it's a great question. Thank you. Well, interestingly, this building didn't look anything like it does now. It was actually a timber-framed home. It was a Garrison style on the front and the rear. It's sort of hard to tell with the sliding aluminum windows on the second floor, the Brasco picture windows on the first floor, and it being completely covered in white vinyl siding and red aluminum brake metal over the trim. But if you can envision the building at one time looking like a pretty authentic colonial home along the highway route, I'm sure it had some gorgeous double-hung wood windows and a very beautiful front door and maybe even a porch. And seeing that the concept of the place is the type that's family-orientated, where you'd spend time with your family, that's what we would hope to do to the building in the future. Is it white? It might be a rich, creamy yellow color that might be historic and authentic with wonderful, authentic divided light windows in the front and so forth. And that was the intent. And Chrissy and I had gone through maybe about a dozen different images of what it would look like. When I say that, though, that's finite differences in whether it's a federal or Georgian-style home and so forth. I think that the timber frame likely was built maybe around 1840s, 1830s or so, which is very interesting. And again, you would never notice it unless you pulled down the drop ceiling on the first floor or you had gone in the cellar.
And so what are you doing immediately?
Flower boxes. I wish I had more to say, but that's.
Okay.
I don't think I understand.
All they're putting is flower boxes on the windows.
No, so as far as the additions, those are not going in now. That's later on, correct? Aren't there additions to the back of the structures?
Yes, I thought the question was what will we do in the future, not what we're doing now.
No. I said, what are you doing now? And you said flower boxes.
Oh, okay. That question, as far as the rear of the building, not the front facade of the building, we're adding a series of additions to the rear of the building. And all of the roof lines on the rear will be lower than the roof line on the front. And in order to accomplish that task, we have a flat styled roof on the rear and double hung windows in a style that we may use for the future on the front. That will allow us the liberty to have almost any layout we want and not impede on the image of the front of the building from the front for the future.
And so what functions happen where?
Okay.
Yep.
Would you mind clarifying for me? So the goal is to put on the addition on the home, the addition on the structure with the business and the rental unit, an addition out back. Are both additions happening in the near future, or are they? I thought they were phased. One was phased.
Yes, they are. The business has an addition to the rear that we'll be building today.
Okay.
The secondary unit exists on the second floor of the existing building. The residential home to the right, that addition in the rear will be future work.
Future. Okay, so the house is the future. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so if I'm looking at that, where is the immediate work?
It's the entire first floor. So the first
Okay.
floor in its entirety will be renovated.
Mhm.
The living unit above simply has a new means of egress. There are additions on the rear that account for approximately 1,000 square feet of building. And inside the building, there would be a lobby. There would be multiple playrooms, a large living room in the center where these different playrooms could join together and play together. There would be a kitchen, not for public cooking, but for educational cooking. And there's also an art room. And that's pretty much it on the first floor. There's some really neat things that go inside the spaces, the slides for the kids and games for them to play.
I don't care about
We're
that.
not
either.
That's not issue at all.
So the idea is to add an addition to the rear that doesn't impede on the aesthetics of the front and also creates a separation between these two buildings. And when we say buildings, under the building code, we're considering having them, because they're on one lot, considered as one building.
The home and the business, or are you talking about the
Yes, you
rental
can,
unit and
you
business?
can, under the building code, have a series of buildings on one lot, and it's considered a building under the building code as opposed to a series of buildings. So the structures could be separate, but they consider it a building.
We consider it separate buildings here.
I know. Yep, yep. So, so you have a single-family unit, and just to reiterate, the additions on the rear are in the future, but we'd like to place the additions on the building, the existing building, in the rear today, and then rework the front facades in the future, including the additions to the single-family home.
Any facade improvements to the single-family home?
Not today.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Yeah.
Anybody from the public like to comment on this? You need to come up and give us your name and address. and speak into the mic.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm short. I'm Juliette Bruce, 26 Linwood Place. Actually live in Amesbury. I've been involved with this center for about 2 years, and I can't believe how much hard work goes into something like this, but I think it will be so well worth it. I know this will be a huge asset to your community. Like I said, it's been about 2 years, and this place is unique in the sense that, the obvious reasons are it's joyful and happy, and there's playing and dancing and singing and cooking, but this place is unique, radically unique, for 3 reasons. The first reason is that so much thought and detail goes into things like what toys are going to be there. The simplicity of it is beautiful. The children don't go there to get stimulated and sent home. You know, they're engaged. They're like deeply engaged, and you can just step back and watch them learn and watch their wheels turn. And and it's beautiful, and so much thought goes into that. The second reason, I think the most profound reason, is that the staff, they bring their full presence to their work. They are so authentically and fully there for these children, and they see your child. They really see them, and they see who they are, their uniqueness and their fears and challenges and their strengths. And when a child is seen like that, I know with my own child, when they're seen like that, they start to really see their worth and the worth of the other kids, and they start to see their value. And my son, when he was 2, he started there, and he was terrified of other children. I couldn't take him anywhere. And within like 6 weeks of one of their programs, he's like a different boy. He would be here talking to any of you about anything right now if he wasn't home sleeping. But it was such a transformative experience for him, and what an asset that is to any community. And lastly, I'm trying to be brief, as brief as I can. The collective wisdom of the staff is mind-blowing to me. Chrissy herself has higher degrees in parent education, and I remember coming to her with a concern about my oldest son, and she spent 25 minutes with me, sitting on the floor while my son played, digging into the issues, and I left that conversation with tools and wisdom, but mostly with empowerment. And I felt so confident in my ability to parent, and so empowered. And I just feel like as a community, you'd be so blessed to have a center like this. And with all the hard work, it's so worth it. I feel like, you'll have cultivating this community with joyful, engaged kids and empowered moms and dads. I can't imagine a better place to live. So I hope you welcome them. And I know it's a lot of hard work, but I really think it will be well worth it. So thanks for letting me talk. I could go on and on, but I won't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brittany Bennett. I live at 222 West Main Street in Georgetown. And I have been affiliated as a parent with Playmakers for over a year since moving to the area. We lived further away before. I wrote my thoughts down, so I'd be brief. I'm speaking as both a parent and an educator with many higher degrees when I say that Playmakers is a unique place that helps both children and parents find comfort in learning and growing. My son is my oldest, and he is a true living example of how Playmakers gently nurtured him to find the courage to be himself and discover the independence he needed to explore and be proud of the boy he has become. I have tried many children's programs, and nothing compares to Playmakers. So truly, the community, there is nothing out there. I've been affiliated with as a teacher, and I run my own business in educating, and there is nothing, I do art, but nothing like Playmakers. And I have put referred students to other places, and now I just send everyone to Playmakers because any community would be lucky to have them. And if Playmakers isn't able to happen and it has to end, that would be a disaster for not only families, but for an entire community. So I just wanted you all to know that it's not just Chrissy up here trying to make her business happen. It would be an entire community not happening. And you would be so lucky to have her running it. I look up to her for everything. So she's amazing and her entire philosophy. So thank you.
Well, thank you both. Well, I think we're at a point where, yes,
I do have some comments, one from the public and one from in-house review.
thank you. I guess we're not at that point.
First is from the fire chief, Deputy Chief Doug Jandron. He said the only things that the fire department would like to comment on are that the places where the public will have access to, there should be emergency lighting, exit signs, and crash bars on the door. Also, there should be a fire alarm system monitored by an alarm company via telephone dialer. From the Board of Health, the Board of Health has no comments. The proposed septic design will need to be reviewed. From Chief Riley, Chief of Police, 0 issues. And I have one letter from an abutter on Middle Road, Jerome and Cecile Pimental. And shall I read it?
Sure.
In regards to Planning Board hearing on September 18th, 2013, and the Newbury Zoning Board of Appeals on September 12th, 2013, the notice is suggested to contact Town Hall for further information. Martha, I appreciate meeting with you on September 3rd for this information. Thank you. This letter is to put on record that my husband and I are pleased to hear of this project as we feel it will enhance the neighborhood in every way. We wish the Playmaker family in Richmond and the Rupp family a long and prosperous stay in Newbury. Welcome to Newbury. And that's what I've received so far.
Do any board members have any other comments to make at this time? Seeing none, I think that what we do, Joe, is that we ask that this be continued, that we ask that the maybe planning board members who would like to join the Concom for their site visit
By all means, sure.
on
It-
Wednesday,
It's 4 o'clock next
Wednesday, the
Wednesday, yes.
20,
Yeah. The 4 may be a little
24th,
loose.
25th,
25th, yeah.
25th.
Yeah.
And what time is it?
4 o'clock, but I just want to point out, it may be a little loose because we're meeting at Circle Finishing at 3, and we're, obviously, if we get mired down there in something, we'll be late for this, but we will not be a no-show, we'll be there.
We're joining the Concom if we choose to, which I think makes sense. Why have two? Why have two?
Yeah. Just a
Who's the owner? Do you have permission from the owner to do the walkthrough?
I'm not sure we need it officially by law, but do we? I would hope we, I hope we're.
Am I right,
it's okay.
Chris?
I think it falls under our permitting process.
I believe so.
Check with them, but I don't think
It's in the application packet too,
Yeah.
we put in the, purchase and sales and outlines
They're
that they
welcome.
have full access to the property.
Concom does, but the planning,
No, it's in
the planning board,
board's,
but for that day, we just want to make sure that we're just trying to get a formal,
Okay.
yes, we are allowed to
So,
go.
so I've just gotten a
Oh,
comment
yeah.
that, does that cover us, and do we have to have a special, something to join them? Do you know? Not that you know of.
I don't think so. And as a site visit, it does not actually need to be a posted meeting, although it could be posted,
But-
as long as there's no deliberation.
Isn't the site visit for the Concom? And I believe that that's the purpose of a site visit. Just, I don't think there'd be a problem, but just to be covered to get permission, like John said.
Or you want permission from Concom, or you
No,
want permission?
No, from the
No, the
owner of the
owner.
Yes,
property.
this is what I was trying to say. The Concom has gotten permission from the owner for a site walkthrough. The planning board is asking you permission to go at the same time as them. Do we have permission?
Would you do that?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So with that, we will continue the meeting in 2 weeks. All right, 2 weeks?
Is that gonna give
Does
you
that
enough
make
time?
sense?
So you've got everything
Is that
completed?
too tight?
That, it's kind of on,
Does
it's
he
putting the
have,
pressure
well,
on him.
it's him that's the,
2 weeks probably will not give me enough time.
Okay.
Because we have, we're gonna do some additional soil testing. We're not even having the site walk till the 24th.
Right, and John,
25th.
when does the Concom re-meet?
Well, it'll be the 3rd Tuesday in October.
Oh.
So, no, wait a second. What we had agreed last night was that, assuming that there weren't any huge surprises, since the site walk was a continuation of last night's hearing, we would be able to vote on the site.
Oh,
And
okay.
obviously, we can't vote an unconditional approval because the stormwater, which is mostly Concom responsibility, is not cleaned up yet. So, what we would do, I would think, it's the same as we did at, the other job on the Turnpike. Vote it approval subject to the planning board's approval of the stormwater issues and the other site issues.
Okay.
That are part of the site plan review responsibility.
So we're gonna need time to make the changes, get them to Joe, have Joe comment, so we can definitely come in 2 weeks and update the board.
No, that's not
But-
necessary. I mean, I'd rather not, I'd rather have you come and,
Okay.
so we can approve it.
Okay, what would you suggest for a date?
When is If we don't make this 2-week, when is the next hearing?
No,
The
we'll
16th.
accommodate you. Because this isn't really a
And
schedule.
also, we've got two boards with alternating.
Yeah.
Right, and we have alternating schedules, so we can have another, we can do it on a Thursday, couldn't we? I mean,
Sure.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Can I get back to you on that?
Yeah, no,
So I can see what
Then we
I
have-
have to do?
get back to Martha, and Martha will schedule.
Okay.
We have to formally vote to continue to a date certain.
Right,
Oh, to a date
Right,
certain?
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
but then
Thank you,
we can
David.
always, once again, if necessary, take it.
Well, can we continue for 2 weeks and then in 2 weeks ask for a continuance?
Yes.
By letter without coming to the board?
It's a public hearing.
Yeah, it's better to push it out to when you think you're gonna
Yeah.
have the.
What if we
Stormwater work
go
done.
4 weeks?
What?
But
Go 4 weeks.
let me ask you a question. Does it matter if it's a selectmen's meeting also, as long as it's a public hearing? Because, you know, the
As long
select,
as we get a quorum here.
I mean, yeah, the selectmen meet at different times than the planning board does, right?
Well, a month from now would be, or a month from your next would be, do you meet on the 14th? The day, the day, which is a holiday, but,
That's Columbus Day.
the 14th is Columbus Day.
Yeah, I won't be here.
It doesn't have to be,
Only a few
like I
days to
say,
get off.
pick a date, and then if it's
All
not,
right.
if you can't make it, let us know, and we'll get 3 of us together to meet and continue it again.
Actually, you need
This-
4, you need a supermajority for the special permit.
Okay.
Are you away for that week?
The week of Columbus Day, I'll be around Tuesday on. So,
We could make it for the first meeting in October, which would be,
That's 2 weeks, that's October 2nd.
that's October 2nd.
So make
Yeah.
it for the
So that
second
we could
week.
make it
Second
for
is
the
October
Board of
16th.
Selectmen meeting on the 7th.
Go to,
No, that's-
go to our
that's the-
second meeting in October.
That's the-
Our second meeting would be the
16th.
16th.
Right, because I wanna try to get to Joe a week before so we can have the comments.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, so.
All right, so that's like a month from,
Okay.
So that's Wednesday.
so that's the
the
date we set.
Okay, so we need to have a vote, the 16th at what time? In both boards?
7:15 work?
7:05,
For you?
because we can go right into it.
Okay.
Why not do it at 7,
Is it October 15th?
October 16th?
16.
16th, okay.
So,
That's our Wednesday night, right?
oh, then
Yeah. Is that
Yes.
Yeah. Wednesday? Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
keep it at 7:15.
Yeah.
So does somebody want to actually make a motion and second?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those,
Aye.
Aye.
The selectmen?
Second.
Motion.
I'll make the same motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I won't be here.
Okay.
It turns out I realize that whole week I've gotta be down in DC.
All right,
I forgot.
so,
we need to get,
If you have comments,
We-
you're
we-
moving the board, right?
Well, we've got this super majority
They have to have
issue that
4.
we're already sort of
Yeah.
one person short this
All right.
meeting. So we do the Mullins rule twice.
So
or-
we'll have to
Chuck,
make
we
sure
just
Chuck's
got-
here.
You gotta pull Chuck to the meeting.
Yeah.
Chuck will have to sign the form and view the video, and then he can participate.
Yeah.
And then I could do likewise
You could
if
do
I have to
likewise
miss
if
the,
he gets
because I'll be.
Right.
Okay, good.
Is it 7 o'clock?
All right?
Martha, doesn't
Chrissy,
the
you
applicant,
good?
We'll make it
the
7:15.
applicant actually have to request
If
the,
people are late.
Okay.
All right, I think we're
doesn't
done.
the applicant have to request
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
the continuation? I don't think we can just do it.
I only have 2 command performances this fall, and they're both.
Well,
complete.
okay. In the past, we've always,
Read another thing.
oh, okay, you're right, for this. Yeah, I was thinking of the water thing, but no, all right.
Martha, do you have the reading that she has to
Right.
do for the next public hearing?
Okay, now,
Is it just us or is it both?
Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That was cool. Well, you're done with the other. I would like to, by the way, if you make the presentation. Oh, no, I can't make those. I would like to see what you're gonna say to the. You should give it to the planning board.
Teresa told me just make it really quick. Basically nothing.
So yeah, they don't want to see it.
Have a presentation.
They want to see the results. My questions how they voted, but they won't get a half an hour presentation.
I'm increasingly convinced, oh, we're gonna get after I looked at this site.
What's that?
That's the reference they make to these chapter
But how do I
things.
read it as?
Just write chapter 97.
Okay.
This is what I would do right here, chapter
Okay.
97. Yeah.
So we've got a huge outpouring of the public here for the.
Yeah.
public
Added
hearing.
to, wait a minute, to add a new, is that, what is that funny symbol? Is that section? Section. Section.
Yeah.
Everybody okay? Oh, David, yeah, that'd be great if you could put that up. All that the public wanna see it.
Mm-hmm.
No public?
We're still being recorded.
Sure. Well,
Nobody
everybody's,
cares about our public hearing.
no.
Jeez.
Well, everybody's at
Public
home
audience
with
that are watching it.
popcorn.
Yeah. That's true, they're watching us on TV, so I still have to
Right.
read it then, right? Okay. You just tell
Well,
me.
let's give David, let's get this up on the, so we can at least see it, and hopefully
Right.
he can pick it up for the television.
Don't want to sit next to me, huh? Can't see you. I can't see it, I'll move over here. Okay. I know, it comes, makes me feel a lot better.
David, we're losing half the audience.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so it's too high. Okay.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, that helps. All right, let me just move it over. Yeah, here. Okay. All right, I'm just changing my setup here so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, well, we've got 4 minutes.
No, it's 8:15.
Oh, was it 8:15? Ah, well, we should have been quicker. All right, okay. Now then, let's see here.
Do you want me to read while he?
Yeah, you
that'd be
can
great.
read, yeah, right on.
Let's open the public hearing for the issue of medical marijuana moratorium and also for adjustments to the solar bylaw that had approved at the town meeting this past spring. And so to do that, we will also have a reading from Linda McCamick that appeared in the Daily News.
There you go.
Town of Newbury Planning Board, public hearing notice. Residents of the town of Newbury and other interested persons, please note that on Wednesday, September 18th, 2013, at 8:15 PM at the Newbury Town Hall, 25 High Road, Newbury, Mass., the Newbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing to consider proposed changes to the Code of the Town of Newbury, Chapter 97, zoning as follows. 1. An amendment to Article X General Regulations to add a new Section 9710H, temporary moratorium on medical marijuana treatment centers / registered marijuana dispensaries and related facilities through June 30th, 2014. 2. An amendment to Article 5, Special Permits General, Section 97.5F, ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations to correct Scrivener's errors in the provisions regarding the site plan review, Section 97-5F, 5A, C, D, and E, in order to clarify that the planning board is the body responsible for site plan review for ground-mounted solar PV installations occupying at least half acres of land, but less than 2 acres of land, and to change references to Newbury's zoning bylaw from plural to singular. The text of these proposed amendments is on file with the town clerk and in the planning department, 25 High Road, Newbury, Mass., and may be inspected there during normal business hours. For more information, contact the planning department at 978-465-0862, extension 312. All persons interested or wishing to be heard relative to the proposed zoning amendments should appear at the time and place designated above. John Weiss, Chair, Newbury Planning Board.
So for those who are watching on television, we'll start with a discussion about what is behind this. And so, David, could you give us the next slide? So this, on medical marijuana, the proposed zoning amendments are asking for a temporary moratorium on medical marijuana treatment centers and registered marijuana dispensaries, and the corrections to the site plan review provisions of the ground-mounted solar voltaic installations. Those are the two items on our agenda tonight. David. So on the temporary moratorium on medical marijuana, both treatment centers and dispensaries, the law that permits the cultivation, distribution, possession, and use of marijuana for medical purposes was approved by the Massachusetts voters on November 6th. 63% of those voting voted in favor. 61.5% of Essex County voters voted in favor, and 69% of Newbury voters who cast votes on the question approved the law. Chapter 369, an act for humanitarian medical use of marijuana, went into effect on January 1st of 2013. So following the approval of the act, the State Department of Public Health promulgated regulations which went into effect this past May 24th of 2013. Regulations which allow up to 35 registered marijuana dispensaries in the Commonwealth, with up to 5 per county. And most recently, I think the number was 130-odd people applied for those 35 registered marijuana dispensaries, with a majority of them Suffolk County and Middlesex County. Regulations provide guidance to nonprofit entities seeking to qualify as registered marijuana dispensaries and to cities and towns in the regulation of medical marijuana. And before us tonight, I think there's one more, David. Yeah. So the local regulations that relate to it. The Attorney General's office has ruled that municipalities cannot prohibit the use of land and structures for medical marijuana treatment centers, registered marijuana dispensaries. But municipalities are allowed to regulate land and structures used for medical marijuana treatment centers or dispensaries. Municipalities are also allowed to establish a temporary moratorium to provide time to develop zoning and other appropriate regulations to address land use, public health, and public safety issues related to the use of medical marijuana. So the proposed moratorium by the planning board to the town to be decided on at town meeting in October is that a moratorium would apply to all use of land or structures for medical marijuana treatment centers, registered marijuana dispensaries and related uses, except for hardship cultivation by a qualifying patient or personal caregiver. It'll be effective in all zoning districts in the town. It'll be effective through June 30th, 2014. And I think that's it. Am I right? I think that's it. Okay. So with that, I guess we would open up to board discussion and see if we want to have any discussion further about this before we act on it.
Did everybody receive the revised?
This.
Thank you. The revised language,
Is this revised up until?
like 5 o'clock
The
tonight.
last of the last, as it were, in other words, yesterday?
Yeah, this is the revision with our town council's recommendations, recommended changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the most recent.
And I think we worked on this enough to the point that I'm happy with the language here, that it will enable us to do what we need to do in the next, well, what it'll be?
9 months?
9 months or so, yeah.
Right.
Right.
I am too, David. I think our work is ahead of us on this, although I'm encouraged to see that a number of municipalities are moving forward with bylaws and doing a lot more work now because they are, I don't want to say threatened, but a number of dispensaries or cultivation places are looking to locate in towns that are around us. And so we'll have the ability to look at how they're proceeding. I think that's quite good. George, you want to add anything? With the language the way it is? Well, with that, do we want to have a motion on this?
I move that we go ahead and submit this to the selectmen for placing on the warrant for fall town meeting.
Second. I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So approved. The second item is the corrections to the ground-mounted solar voltaic installations bylaw. The ground-mounted solar PV installation bylaw was passed at Maytown meeting of 2013, approved by the Attorney General just yesterday. Was it Monday?
Monday.
And proposed corrections intended to address errors in the version of the bylaw printed in the warrant for the May 2013 ATM. I think maybe that's it. Is there one more slide on this, David? Or is that it? Oh, no. But the bylaw, here's what was wrong. The bylaw mistakenly identified both Planning Board and Board of Selectmen as the approval authority for site plan review for ground-mounted solar installations 1/4 acre of land up to, but not including 2 acres in size. Oh, really? Planning Board should be consistently designated as site plan review approval authority. Selectmen remain special permit granting authority for installations occupying 2 acres or more, and references to the Newbury zoning bylaws should be changed to bylaw. And so that's what we're proposing to bring to town meeting to make these essentially what we call scrivener's errors, so that can be corrected and the bylaw can stand. Any comments on this?
No.
Have a motion?
Making a motion to give this to the selectmen to bring to town meeting.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So approved. I'd like to make a comment just quickly. I was able just at the last minute to take a look at the letter from the AG's office, which I thought was really quite interesting in terms of its analysis of the ability to move and on aesthetics, which is broader than I think I had seen an interpretation before, because they were specifically addressing some of the comments that had been made in letters to them. But they cite 4 or 5 cases, Nantucket, the Vineyard, Beacon Hill, et cetera, where aesthetics were clearly taken into account, and they clearly believed that these things are justifiable. And I thought that it was, then they talked about the various kinds of concerns that they had in moving forward and making sure that both we and the Board of Selectmen were aware of certain kinds of issues. And maybe those are the kind of letters you always get. but I thought it was particularly good, but in particular enlightening on the aesthetics issue. So I thought that was good for us, in a way. It was a very good letter. Okay,
So, do you want to close the public hearing?
so I'd like to close the public hearing.
Vote to close the public.
Do you want to open it up for comments? The public?
Yes.
Just saying,
For
don't
those
you
who,
have to ask?
for those who are watching, Kathleen's
Right.
being fresh.
Right, okay, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so, let me get a, I think, am I right that the only other issue we have tonight is stormwater rules and regs, and where are we with that, I guess, John and Martha?
Yeah, it's being reviewed by various people. Ed came in the other night with, the other afternoon with some very good comments, which we're going to incorporate. I've got it out to 2 engineers at the moment. I haven't been able to raise Steve Sawyer. He
Oh.
hasn't returned my call. I wanted him to be part of it.
Yeah, Steve, it'd be good.
But I don't know where he is. I don't want to push it for obvious reasons. And that's about it. We have maybe our very first MS4 thing coming up. I was going to mention it when I did Concom, but I might as well say it now. The Circle Finishing project, which was kind of devastated environmentally, right, about 20 years ago. And
What happened there?
a fire.
A fire.
And like in any fire, you got people squirting hoses, so stuff got into the wetland. And finally, the stars aligned properly so that they can clean it up, which they're going to do. And so we had a hearing the other night. That is in the MS4, but it would not require a separate hearing because our present regulations say that if it's a Concom issue and the Concom approves it, that's good.
Is Newburyport involved in that at all?
Well, yes and no. Mary Rimmer, who was presenting, said that she thought not. Doug pointed out that the town line seems to run through
It
the
does.
area of excavation, so chances are they are.
For
But-
your information, the DEP files on those,
The which?
the DEP files on that site that
Yeah.
I actually was searching for in the past year are actually located under the Newburyport address, in case
Oh,
you
are
have
they?
to look for them.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, there's an area kind of like this that they're planning on excavating, and the line seems to go like this. This is Newburyport. In round figures, roughly a third of the site appears to be in Newburyport.
It is, a third of the site is in Newburyport.
Okay, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
So based on this initial inquiry that I understand that you all have had, is there a thought that this person, in addition to cleaning it up, wants to put something on the property?
Not at this point. They just want to clean it up to make it saleable, as I understand it.
Didn't somebody come before us?
Someone came.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wanted to do a mixed
The-
use.
No one.
it's like a strip mall or something in there, yeah.
It's gonna be like a Panera.
The
Right.
Panera Bread
Yeah.
location
The
originally
guy
was
who
looking
owns
at
the,
Jenkins.
Yeah.
ended up going to
whatever
Newburyport
it is,
instead.
the
Pizza.
pizza.
So
Yes.
does he own that too?
That is
Yeah.
really too bad.
Yeah.
I think they came in and proposing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Martha, do you have anything to add on stormwater?
No, I think, that's it for now.
Okay. And then, once we get you get your comments in,
David, I like
then I
that.
guess we have a subsequent discussion with both Doug and
With the
Tracy
Conservation
about,
Commission,
yeah, about where this thing,
Transferring the thing.
where this,
Doug is quite happy
where
to
this thing sits.
pick it up. So,
Yeah, and I guess the only, well, others may have different concerns, but the only concern I had is that what happens when we want to incorporate these into the subdivision regulations, and what is our role there?
well, I think you have to maintain, we have to maintain as a planning board, the subdivision rules and regulations. I don't think that's something that we can subcontract out. But any document can be used as can be a reference document in any, like the Board of Health can put out something on solid waste. and they can reference DEP requirements.
So the extent to which the board is comfortable with the stormwater regulations as they've been revised, and then it's just simply moved over to another department,
Yeah.
simply we're okay with that. We've okayed how they've been revised, and now we have a new administrative structure on top of
I
that.
guess so, yeah.
I'm thinking.
The major
So-
thing, the major thing to bear in mind, though, is if we're making the Conservation Commission the approving authority, that's not a planning board problem. Where the planning board problem comes in, as I see, is the application and the plans, the documents that are submitted for a subdivision review. The description of those is in the stormwater bylaw. In other words, the requirements for plans
right.
in general.
Right.
Now, in the subdivision rules and regs, there are requirements for plans that apply only to subdivisions,
Right.
that are peculiar to the subdivision process. But the generic
Okay.
requirements for drainage calcs, for this and that, and plans with north arrows and contours, that's in the, so that there was only one set of rules for, and hopefully we can get the same thing into site plan review rules and regulations later.
Okay,
Do
all right.
we have, my question would be, do we have to take this to town meeting
Yes,
in
this
order to transfer? We can't just,
No, it's a
No.
change to the bylaw.
Yeah,
So that would
yeah.
have to be in the spring.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the approval of the bylaw would have to, I mean, I'm sorry. The functioning as the approving agent is in the zoning, is in the bylaw.
Right.
So that would have to go to town.
Yeah,
meeting.
that's what I'm
Okay.
talking about.
All
Yeah.
right. Generating rules and regulations are not necessarily in the bylaw, as I read it.
No.
Yeah.
Just because I want to get the balance, yeah.
Right, so we can subcontract the rules and regulations revision without giving up the authority until it goes to town meeting.
Yeah, we can, until such time as we actually give it to the not give it, but ask the town to essentially transfer the authority to the Conservation Commission, we can continue to work on it. Obviously, it would seem to me we would do that together where necessary with input and approval from the Conservation Commission,
course.
since they're gonna get it in their lap.
Yeah.
But I don't see any problem there.
Yeah.
Because I think they understand that it makes more sense because of the way we're structuring the relationship for it to be where it is, for it to be there.
Okay, any new business? Nada? Oh, we already discussed. Okay, Board of Selectmen, I know that I told Joe that then now my classes have started, so I won't be able to attend the meetings. Martha is going, and any time that there's a issue, I think that any one of us is interested in, we ought to work with Martha. This is at least until March of next year.
I'm at the next meeting, just so you know.
So if you're at the next meeting, that's great, and if others, if there are issues on it and you want to go to it, I mean, we'll have the discussion. When do we find out what their agenda is? Thursday before, so maybe you could just send it out to everyone.
But
can
do
sign
that?
up
You
for
can
it.
sign up for it.
You just sign up for it?
Does work.
But it kicks you out after a while, because I've had to do it a couple times.
Yeah, but, I mean,
Yeah, but wait a minute. No, but wait. It seems to me that we don't want to have everybody go. It seems to me we need to have a thing that says, okay, here is what's on it, and then have some kind of a, here's who should go. Or maybe no one should go. I mean, but.
Oh, I see you're saying let's determine it from that.
Yes.
Okay, that's different than
You see-
everybody
yeah,
receiving it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see what I mean? So why don't you send it to everyone, and then we can all cogitate on it and figure out, well, Dave should go because they're talking about MVPC or something like that. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Well, does she need to do that next meeting if I'm gonna be there?
No. Are you gonna be on your best behavior?
Better than you?
can we ask you why you're promising to go?
Oh, I am presenting my findings, yeah, like 10-minute
And,
presentation.
and so I would also request that our next meeting, or after you presented to the Board of Selectmen, that you present it to the planning board as well.
Okay.
That would be good.
Do you want the short 10-minute presentation
No, I
too?
want the detailed one, because I think there's some opportunities here, and I think that we need to figure out we all, I think, intuitively know what our Achilles heel is out there and why things aren't happening, but I think I'd like to see the data that you've got and see if there are steps that we should be taking from a proactive point of view to make things happen.
All right, so that would probably be like a half an hour presentation.
That's fine.
That's good. And
That's
that
absolutely
way
fine.
Also, frankly, it becomes part of the video record too.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but what I'm
that's
saying
fine.
is it means it's referenceable and
Yeah.
people can,
No, I think that would be
Yeah.
good.
Should we put that on the next agenda?
Yes.
yeah.
Can you, is that all right with you? It's up to you.
Let me just see the date. I have a bunch of presentations coming up. I don't want to schedule 4 in 1 week, that's all.
Not only that, we want your best.
Yeah, once you rest
You know,
it.
we don't want sloppy seconds.
Yeah. The 16th, we have a public hearing.
Yeah, so we don't want to do it at the same time as a public hearing, because that
No.
will just make the night longer. So then that means the 2nd, you're saying that you'd like it?
October 2nd? Yeah, that's okay, if you can do it.
That's our next meeting.
Okay? MVPC, David?
We don't meet until tomorrow, because we do not meet in July and August. I would just point out that, today I got information that the 2 workshops, which are part of the planners' workshops, which count towards certification, one of which is writing defensible decisions and the other of which is
Oh, yeah, I got a notice
special
of that. I
permits.
got a notice of that.
They have a,
Yes.
right, yeah, you did. But I found out today there is some money in the budget to pay for that. So if you wanted to go, you probably, and I, would have to check, because it may have been an offer to me, but you probably can go for free.
Oh, good. Well, I don't know. George, did you get that? You have any interest in going to that
We
one?
didn't see it. Was it emailed?
Yeah.
Yeah, Martha emailed it to us.
Came in today, I think.
Let me look at it again.
Today or yesterday?
Maybe
Yesterday?
yesterday.
Today or yesterday. But take a look at that.
I will.
They're good classes. I did it. I'm certified.
There you go.
It counts towards town stuff, doesn't it, if somebody gets certified?
Yeah.
We get credits on their insurance, and we're all now handing in any things that we go to.
Yeah.
That helps our insurance rate.
Conservation Commission?
Capital.
Just the circle finishing.
Oh,
and,
right. That's interesting,
Do we
though.
have, Martha, do we have a date yet for meeting Angelo out on the job site?
No, we don't. I contacted him today, and I
Haven't got back to you
I
yet.
suggested next week.
Next week, yeah.
I will say that what I did tonight, I drove out to 6769, took a look at that site. I have to say, you're a bit discouraged when you see the problems of that property. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be done, and I'm not sure that they're all gonna be done. Then I drove down to Angelo's site. Then I drove back and I saw the guy who was doing the wood stuff, and I realized, hey, that's what we're getting.
What are the
That's what we're getting.
Yeah, what are the porta potty on the trailer? There is a sort of granddad porta potty and
Oh,
a
in front of the
little
wood,
mama.
in front of the wood guy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, is he about to sell porta potties or?
That's what it looks like.
Oh, that's probably for him when he works out there.
Well, except they've been sitting there for several days, so either, whatever
Anyway.
I'm going to. Yeah.
So when-
Maybe he has a rental business. Nobody sells them. I mean, generally, you don't buy
I know,
them.
right.
Contractors rent them
Right,
for
right,
so much
because-
a week.
So when does that new virtual used car business go in? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's there.
There's already cars all over there.
There.
Well, there are cars down further, but I thought he was going in where the doggy daycare was.
That's what I thought.
No, but there are all sorts of cars in the Cars Unlimited lot, right next to the abandoned
In
showroom.
fact, they've been
I mean, it's like-
increasing geometrically.
I mean, it's a mess the way he's got it. I mean, they ought to have some kind of, he's just throwing them all over the place, and it's, We had nothing to say about that. He just came to the selectmen for a change of use, wasn't it? Business
Yeah,
license.
Yeah.
Were you able to confirm whether or not the police told Angelo to shut the road off?
The road has been, the way he's got it now, you can get through. Tonight, when I drove through,
I wanna know whether he lied or not, that's why.
oh, I don't know.
That's why I wanna know that.
I'm sorry, let me finish up. ZBA?
No.
So what's happening with I did notice one of the properties has got a sign on for sale, you know, in the ditch
Yeah,
on.
Harry Trout's.
Is that Harry Trout?
Yeah.
What about the others, do you know? Are they on the market?
No, they're not. Just Harry's.
That's the only one.
Yeah. $2.99 if you'd like to buy it.
Where's that?
No, $4.99, I'm sorry.
$4.99.
Yeah.
This is his place at the island
Yeah.
you're talking
Piece of
about?
land, yes.
Yeah,
Piece of land.
where his house was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
He was given a permit to rebuild,
Yeah, I understand.
um,
But he's choosing to sell instead.
right, with the permit.
Of course.
1,200 square foot house, I think, is what.
Where he got permitted, yeah, I don't remember that.
Can he do that
That
on
order.
that permit?
What, sell it?
There's your chance.
Why not?
Well,
To do
because
something
it's a
monumental
permit
and stupid.
conditioned by DEP, isn't it?
If you wanna go down in history.
But
for
it strikes
something.
me, it's not like
It-
a straight building permit.
It does occur to me as well, Martha, that sometime we're gonna have to get back on that issue of what happens on Plum Island with David Mountain's request. I just don't know what the right thing to do is. I still don't know what the town is doing relative to the most recent changes in the FEMA maps. The town appears to be doing nothing, as far as I can tell. But there's apparently no outrage yet, but I do know that large numbers of properties are being affected by the change in the firm maps.
Got big blasting mats there?
And so we were not gonna move forward with doing anything until we saw how that played out. And I have to say, it's very quiet right now, so I'm not sure, but we need to start doing something. And I think after we get through these public hearings, maybe we can refocus on that.
I'll swing in and have a look.
Can I have a request to,
Well, I do have one other quick item.
oh, you do?
Yes, that's not on here because it happened quickly. I sent a couple of pictures to the subcommittee on site plan review of the
Newman Road?
Newman Road, okay. As you probably remember, I have developed this, scratch, I guess, itch about earth removal or importation, okay? And our current bylaw is basically addressing someone who wants to run a gravel pit or actually, run a business of that sort. But what it seemed to be going on, and I had a conversation with Doug Packer a couple of days ago, is that essentially people are stripping sites of the loam that they find on the site, selling that, and then bringing back in really subgrade material, and a lot less in many cases.
And that's not a new thing, that's been going on.
Well, I know. but-
Generations.
Yes, but the point being, when it happens in large amounts.
Sure.
When also it's not part of anything that seems to come under any purview of a building permit or a conservation commission, unless it happens to be, within their purview because it's wetlands. And what brought this to mind was I suddenly discovered the reverse, that on the third building site, which has just begun, on Newman Road, which is the one where they
That's where the father's
combine
building.
the lots, a huge amount of soil appeared from, I don't quite know where.
They did that for each lot, though. For each lot, had the
That
same
came from,
thing.
that came from the foundation. They
Yeah.
dug out the foundation and they put it off to the side.
First, they bulldozed the
Yeah,
site,
but,
and then they-
okay,
No, but, I mean, the foundation is, what, 4,000 square feet is my guess?
Loam though.
that wouldn't be, what seems to be out there is, I just see suddenly the contour of the site has changed vastly, and it appears to have changed through the importation of something from somewhere. Now, I'm not pointing at that to say that it is inherently, you know, in some ways wrong, but what I'm saying is it's a good example of the fact that we don't have anything that monitors that kind of thing. And in this case, it's interesting whether, in fact, if that didn't come from the site itself, and indeed it might have come in part from the foundation, but frankly, if it did, it would, a lot of it would be sand, right, John?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's not
It
gonna be,
doesn't appear
you're
to
not
be
gonna have 10 feet of topsoil.
Right,
that's for
doesn't
sure.
appear to be sand. So, under site plan review, currently, if somebody essentially modifies a site over 5,000 square feet, they get site plan review. Well, on a big construction like this, you can reach those kind of numbers.
Yeah, but I could have triggered that in my yard.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that essentially this kind of thing can happen, okay, and we simply have no tools to even measure it. And also, nobody who has currently any statutory authority to go out there and say, do you have a permit for this, or
But-
does this meet?
But the only
requirements?
concern would be if you were redirecting stormwater, and that's illegal to redirect stormwater to your butter, correct, John?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
sure.
yeah, well, okay, so if you wanna go there, that's happening in the same building area, okay?
But I'm saying that is,
Yeah.
there are regulations in place for that issue.
Right, except
But
one
we
other
could-
thing,
Could we not propose a bylaw on that subject, say in joint venture with Sam?
well, I was
Both of us
wondering,
sponsor it and make
Mhm.
him the enforcing agent, and we construct something that's mutually acceptable?
yeah,
Well,
But that
I think-
covers everything.
I think David was going where he wanted it in site plan to trigger site plan review. That's
Well,
what-
Well,
I'm saying-
that's another alternative, but
Yeah.
right now, we don't do it for houses, do we? Site plan review excludes
No,
single-family homes, does it not?
Correct.
right, right.
it does currently, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
the subcommittee's looking at it for, anything more than 2 houses, it would be triggered,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, anything more than a two-family.
Yeah, 2-family.
Right.
Anything more than,
So,
So
multi-family.
that,
unit.
so
Well,
that would be
multifamily unit.
targeting developers as opposed to Joe Home Builder,
right.
the
Right.
guy that's building his
Right.
own house.
Right.
Yeah,
That works
Yeah.
for me.
right.
That sounds like a pretty reasonable thing to do.
Actually, you know, those 3 properties have so many good messages for us. I mean, the other thing which I thought we were going at when you were talking about this last week was when you have a sensitive receptor, which is the lower green,
Mm-hmm.
we have no site plan, I mean, what we wound up with there is worse than anything anybody could have ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
In terms of the proximity of those homes, the size of the homes, and how they dwarf the green. And if we had had some kind of ability, you know, to get a site plan for those 3 homes in a different location, it could have been much more complimentary instead of taking away from the green. And right now, it's a mess.
Yeah,
On
but
the
see,
other-
there's people in this community that disagree with you on that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's why we have these discussions.
Yeah, there,
Right.
I mean, I've heard multiple people when I go to my kids' games
Yeah.
and to this elementary school who love those houses.
By the way,
Love them.
the houses might be okay. It's not the houses that bother me, it's the relationship of that one house to the historic green. And it's just out of proportion, I mean, it shouldn't ever have been built that close. Should never
You're
have
right
been built
next
that
to the
close.
Seddon Tavern, which is a
Well,
souvenir site. I mean,
yeah.
that's-
Right, no,
That's an
it-
important.
I mean, and
It
yes, he's
isn't
putting a couple
anymore,
of,
but it was.
I mean, he's putting a couple of trees up and this and that, but I mean, it was just,
Well,
Oh.
okay, speaking about that, what happened there was that the trees that were on the site belonging to the house that's under construction were all taken out up to the property line, and in all honesty, I think beyond. There was a replanting of trees, and then what happened was, last weekend, they put in French drains. But they did the classic thing, which again happens when we don't have, you know, what shall I say, you know, targets that you sort of need to hit in terms of inspection. The French drain went down the side of the building and then jogged off straight towards the abutting property.
Instead
okay?
of towards his brother's house.
Well,
Could've gone up there.
you couldn't have actually done that probably, but interestingly, since the land had been contoured and raised by 2 to 3 feet, the French drain now was at probably the original contour. And so now you have to have, if not discharge, certainly groundwater movement onto a neighboring property. Now,
That
who
doesn't
knows
sound
what
right.
it'll do?
That doesn't sound
No,
right.
you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No, well, the problem is, okay, without sounding paranoid, that's what happened to me, except I happened to be home the day they were digging the ditch.
And your gun
Right.
was loaded.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a call for the meeting to end?
Yes.
Motion.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
See you in 2 weeks.
Right.
Well, I finally figured out what